Hello. Welcome to my Lipstick Talk.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Renee. Hi, Nia.
Hi, Nefertiti. Hi, Nia.
Hey, y'all.
Hey,
Red
folks.
lips.
Red lip. Got it here. Mine today is really shiny. Renee's is a little dark. Nia, tell us about your lipstick today.
I am wearing a matte lip from Flower. I got it in Ulta on a discount like a while ago, and I really liked it. And then I got it again, and for some reason, it looks different right now. So it's brighter.
It looks great on you. And Renee, how about your lipstick?
Girl, it's a lipstick brand I bought here in Brazil from a store called O Boticario. But I put on two different colors. I had a brown first because I was in a podcast just before this one, and the brown matched better. So now I'm like, let me just put on red on top. So that's why it's a little bit darker. But I actually like it. I like it.
Interesting. Well, I went the, bougie route, and I'm using Lancome.
Oh.
It's a sample lipstick. That
Okay. So we're waiting for people to come on. As we're waiting, we're talking about red lipsticks. And so let's show a little clip of Nia's Film Festival, and then we'll talk, and then show a little bit more once people come on.
So folks are coming on. We have a special guest today, Nia Hampton, who is, say hello, Nia. And we're going to play a quick clip from a film that will be showing at the Black Femme Supremacy Film Fest next week.
Ooh.
Here we go.
Uma trouxe na rodoviária aqui, na rodoviária lá de Maceió. Você vai para o Rio e trabalha. Quando meu pai voltou para fora de casa, aí ele falou assim: então eu tenho um filho e uma filha? Eu falei: é. E agora eu sou Célia.
Eu diria que eu nunca me entendi como homem no mundo, sabe? A minha luta, desde o momento em que eu me entendi como pessoa transexual, foi para não ir pelo caminho da prostituição. Eu queria ser diferente e poder mostrar um dia para outras pessoas trans como eu que essa linha que nos impuseram não é absoluta.
Porque não só está proibida, tá? De usar o banheiro feminino. Você tem que usar o banheiro masculino. Porque na época que eu fiz a mudança de nome, eu entendia assim que se eu pudesse trocar o gênero, se fosse operada. Uma pessoa só conseguiu tacar fogo em tudo. Pra mim não valia mais nada. Por isso que eu resolvi encarar essa missão de fazer o filme e passar para as pessoas: olha, minha vida é assim, simplesmente assim. Eu quero viver.
Nossa.
Viva a vida. Eu te mostrei ainda minha certidão de nascimento?
Não, ainda não sei.
Agora sim, essa que eu me reconheço.
Awesome. Awesome. So excited to have you here, Nia. Yes.
Can someone translate a bit of the trailer for folks, and we can probably play it again at a later time?
Yes, we will play it again.
I'm realizing that there may have been captions on that YouTube clip, but maybe not.
Yeah.
I think I saw captions, but
it might be a caption, but we'll see. But either way, we should probably translate it for folks for some context.
Yes. Sorry about that, folks. I thought there was translation. So for folks who are just signing on, we just showed a short clip of a film that will be presented at the Black Femme Supremacy Film Fest next week. It is a virtual film festival that lovely Nia Hampton, who's here with us today, founded in 2018. The clip we just showed was talking about, it was two trans women talking about who they are currently in Brazil, and what exactly it's been like for them to think about their lives and what they've had to confront. So the issue there is, you know, some of the things they mentioned was they weren't allowed to use a bathroom unless they had an operation. A younger trans woman talked about how she wanted to become something other than a sex worker, which is where a lot of trans women have to find work. And it's an exploration of who they are today and occupying space and being able to be who they are and alive. And one of the facts that was put as a banner in the film was that trans women have a life expectancy of 35 years of age. And Brazil has the highest rate of trans killings in the world. So I think this film, you know, and Nia, please add any more if you think there was more that I should have added to that summary of the translation. But this is one of the films that we'll be showing at the festival. So Nia, can you tell us more about this film, who the filmmaker was?
Yeah, so this film is made by Julia Chagas. I may be mispronouncing her last name, but this is actually the second feature that she'll be screening with us. Last year, she had a feature about the legacy of Carnival and the samba singers. So this year, we're really pleased to bring Say My Name, which really, I think, adds a lot to what the theme of this year is, which is legacy. These are two women who are at different ages, so they've kind of seen two different trans movements, but they're still fighting the same battle. One in which they want to be named themselves and not dead named in public. And it's a really interesting documentary because it's very straight to the point, not very fancy, just very much we're seeing them go through the legal process of getting their names changed and just how hard it is. So that will be available to watch starting next weekend. The way that we're doing this festival is through Seed and Spark. They have a virtual platform. So there is, technically you buy your ticket on Friday and you can watch any film at any time, but we do have a suggested schedule so that you don't miss any of the Q&As. So we're encouraging people to watch it on Saturday night, and then following will be a virtual pre-recorded Q&A with the director and one of our moderators, and it will be in Portuguese. It'll be bilingual. So we're working on like pre-recording it so that we can translate it for folks. Got to do that this week. I'm really excited. I think it's a really great film.
I definitely want you to repeat that again at the end, what you just said for those who come on later. But let me ask you, let's take a step back a little bit. What inspired you to start this, the Black Femme Supremacy Festival for the first time?
So yeah, it was a stunt. It was literally a weekend activity that was a part of a larger show that I did in 2018. When I left you all in Salvador, I came back home to Baltimore and I did a photography and video show, which was kind of the culmination of the years I spent in South America. And the curator wanted like additional events on the weekend. And as someone who has been volunteering at festivals for a long time, is in various film scenes, I had like access to a lot of films and shorts that, because they aren't like big budget feature films, people aren't necessarily going to be able to watch unless you just have all of these random YouTube subscriptions, which I actually do. But anyway, so yeah, I decided to just put them all together. And around the same time, the Maryland Film Festival had like denied me a position that I felt I was right for. So I kind of, my feelings were hurt, and I was just like, you know what, I don't need this white institution that's sexist and racist anyway. I'm gonna do my own thing. And then Black Femme Supremacy became a thing. It just, at the time I was also a working freelance journalist, so I had access to people who critique film and outlets that study film. So the press release asking for submissions kind of took off really fast. We got like 40 submissions. 2 of my core team members that are still with me today came from filling out that same form and saying they wanted to volunteer. And it's just been something that I literally could not have imagined growing in the way that it's grown. But yeah, it was really just, my feelings were hurt and I was like, fuck this, let me do something about it.
But how amazing is that? Your feelings were hurt, and instead of like going in a shell and saying my feelings were hurt, I will never be able to do anything, like you became proactive. And you said, no, I'm going to do something about this. So let me ask you, do you feel like the time that you spent in Brazil, because, this was soon after you coming back from Brazil, do you feel like when you lived in Salvador and Brazil, do you feel like this strengthened you in any way, prepared you to be able to handle any disappointments a lot better, or just anything in terms of just helping you to grow to be able to handle things differently? Did that make that question clear?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think a part of, so I graduated from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County in 2014, and I went to Salvador like 3 months later. So in Salvador, that was where I found like my voice as an artist, even though I'm someone who comes from an artistic family, like literally grew up performing, was a choir kid, was an extra on the wire, like was always going to be doing art and performance, but I never necessarily believed what I was saying. I didn't necessarily feel that I was coming from my own like life experience. I felt like I was kind of being dictated by like the folks who I was learning from, which is like a part of the process. So me going to Brazil was me like getting life experiences to shape what I was talking about. And I think what I saw in Brazil was, one, I only know about Brazil as a country because of City of God. So that film I saw in like 8th grade, and it was just the most amazing thing I had ever seen because it was beautiful in a way that at the time, The Wire was just like the show. And a lot of people I know on The Wire, it's, and it employed a lot of folks. It's a great series, but it was just so ugly to watch. And I didn't feel, I'm sorry, it's like the lighting of it, it was gray. Like I didn't feel like Baltimore City actually looked like that. So when I saw City of God, which is essentially the same story, in the city, Black youth life stuff, I was like, oh, wow, that's the same story, but wow, like it looks amazing. Like, how does it get to look like this? And then I just got obsessed with the country and spent a lot of time on Wikipedia, doing a lot of history. And that's when I came upon, there's an echo again. I came upon the Black history, I guess, of the country. And, then I started to understand how Brazil has the most Black folks outside of Nigeria, like second in the world. And I was like, oh my God, like this is a mecca of sorts.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, I studied abroad because I've always loved traveling. I actually ended up going to Ecuador because I couldn't afford to study abroad in Brazil. But then after I graduated, my acupuncturist suggested that I just go to Salvador because I was actually going to go to South Korea and do the English teaching thing. I just knew I didn't want to be in the States. But I ended up in Salvador and just was living like a life that I felt was my own. That was a lot less filtered or tampered with by like my immediate community, which isn't like a bad thing, but it was just something I needed to do for myself. And being in Salvador, I fell into some scenes of like artists who a lot of them were like lesbian. They all weren't, but a decent amount were. And they were just really getting everything done, like in a way that being in America, which is to a certain extent a bit of a mecca in its own regard when it comes to Black media. Like, Black Americans are hyper visible for better or for worse. So there's a sense of like, if something is going to be done in regards to the Black world or the Black community, it needs to be done in America. And I feel like I learned in Salvador that that's not necessarily true. And that I had like more than enough of what I needed to make what I wanted to see happen. It just like me utilizing it. So yeah, a lot of inspiration from the folks there.
Yay. So Nia, for folks coming on, Nia, we also met you. So Nia is also our dear friend. Aside from being an amazing producer and artist that we admire, we became friends when she came to Salvador. We all met down there, Renee and I and Nia, and we had a lot of great times, you know, going to festivals, music, you know,
that was
you name it. It was, you know, that was our role, you know, our roll dogs, our crew out there.
It was magical.
It was great. It was, you know, I'm like to this day so grateful for that time, and those friendships. And I wanted to ask you, Nia, because you know, we've been talking a lot about finding your voice with different people, you know, last week and the week before. And, you know, I found it in a particular way. Renee found it in a particular way. Was there a particular moment or particular relationships or situations that really sort of stand out from your time when you were living in Salvador that kind of helped you sort of push your voice out there and really understand what it is that you have to say and to share to the world?
Yeah, I mean, Salvador was the first place where I had no choice but to be artistic to live, because of, you know, the systemic inequality and the fact that I was an immigrant and I wasn't necessarily about to go through the paperwork of becoming legal. I had to figure out how to make American dollars online under the table. And the easiest way for me to do that was to write. I had been writing my whole life. I had been paid to write before, but it wasn't something that I saw as a viable career path. So it literally wasn't until the uprisings happened in 2015. And before this, I had been trying, and like I'd have like maybe $100 here, $100 there for something I had wrote. But when the uprising came, I had a unique perspective. And
which uprising?
Right?
Share for folks who
Baltimore uprising, because I'm from Baltimore, currently in Baltimore now, Piscataway land. So yeah, that the uprising gave me something to say. Well, no, it didn't give me something to say. It gave me something that publications were willing to pay me to talk about, essentially. And Jihan, a journalist and another friend, wanted me to star in a documentary about, you know, experiencing this uprisings from the perspective of someone who is from Baltimore but not there in the moment and is in a place that is eerily similar. And I remember we did this like the week before I left. Like I remember thinking like, I'm not about to do that. I want to be on the beach. Like it was just a very
it's a lot of work. It
was so much work. It was, and you know how Jihan is. Shout out to Jihan, we love you, but like it was so big. And I was just like, oh my God, what did I sign up for? But it got really fun. And that, you know, I think we got like 1 million views on Al Jazeera. Like we went viral. It was really like the beginning of my freelance career. And then from there, I was just kind of a bit of I don't know. I mean, I guess at that point I became like a international journalist, and yeah, so that probably that was the moment that things like clicked externally. For me, internally, because like journalism was like my like job, like that was going to be like the most, like the least artistic thing I was going to do. In my mind at that time, I thought, because ultimately I want to make films, and I went to Salvador because like the lighting is just amazing to do anything.
Oh yeah.
But in listening to you ask that question, I'm realizing, I think for me, when I felt like I could really do something, and I'm still like reaching towards that dream because I still haven't created the films that I want to create for myself just yet, but I do feel closer to that, was when we shot that short film in that apartment, Nefertiti.
In my home.
Antonio, yeah. Like,
yeah, I had a great set.
I think it was before you ended up living there, because this was the one with Helen. She came in as the DP, and it was a shower scene.
Yeah, that was my house. Where I had a 2-story like colonial home. I was living at Anechi's house, Renee.
Yeah.
Okay, at Anechi's house. Yeah.
I'm always like, is it the same day? And it was the same day. Yeah, for that, in that moment, because for one, I had never like had a team when I was like making film. It was always just me doing everything, which is so not the way it's supposed to happen. So to have Helen, who was like an amazing photographer, agree to be my director of photography, and just like do that. And then like, I think you were doing like craft for me. Like, just, like
I was the set designer. I was the architect.
And like all of it, and, like Anna was starring, and like we had Monique. Like it was just so amazing. And it felt like the beginning of like what I wanted to be paid to do. And that video is actually on my website now. Like that is still something that I'm very proud of. And it's screened at different places. And like that was the beginning of me like becoming a creative director and a filmmaker. So
You know, I have to say, it's so interesting because first quick plug, shout out to Jihan because she will make anything go viral. She is an amazing journalist. But, you know, I tell you, I always wish that I could go back in time to when we were all there. Because it was, you know, and even when I was listening to Nefertiti talk, it was an amazing time where we all came together, all strangers, met each other, we healed together. We went through so many different things, meditation, going to the clinic, Sechi, you know, Daisy Sechi, Daisy Says, you know, doing acupuncture, doing Hape, doing ayahuasca, like all kinds of things. And all of us, we've left and have become very successful doing different things, you know, and so it's like all of us, like every last one of us have come out and is doing something great. You know what I'm saying? We healed, and it wasn't an easy time being there. It wasn't easy. We were broke. We didn't, some of the times we didn't know where the food was going to come on our table. You know, we're not living in the rich neighborhoods. We're living in the poor neighborhoods. Like different things was going on and we struggled. The struggle was real, but we chose to be in that experience. We chose to go through and get some healing work. So it feels so good to have you on here, you know, a Nefertiti and I show, because we met in Salvador, you met us in Salvador. So it's always like, oh my God, our sister is on here with us now. And to hear you, you know, because I feel like you're my little sister. And I feel like my little sister got this big time film festival going on. And I'm just so proud of you. And it's so nice. Like,
oh, me too.
Oh, thank you. I was thinking of
because you were a baby when you came.
First time I was what I was. It was my early baby, and everyone was so much like y'all were so good to me too. Like y'all didn't like shun me or treat me any type of way because I was younger. Like I never felt like I wasn't supposed to hang out with you all because of age or you know, like sometimes people can be weird about stuff like that. But I was going to say, Renee, I'm thinking of one of the last times because I feel like I lived at your house for so many different eras for whatever reason. Like it would just be random months I'd just be at your house. But I'm thinking a time that I was there and you had the Zorna Hurston Wrapped in Rainbows book, the hard copy. And I really need to get that book again because that was a rough patch. I think I had just gotten fired from my little English teaching job. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any way to live. I was literally going from like the whole circle of Black Americans. I was like, can I stay with you? Can I stay with you? And people were like, no. Or like, you know, my time had passed in certain places. And I remember reading that book. Or maybe this was right before I got that job. I think it was right before I got that job. And I was in between hustles and I wasn't, you know, the writing thing wasn't paying yet. And I was in your house all the time alone reading Zorna Hurston's Wrapped in Rainbows biography and just kind of getting inspired and reading like what her experience as this artist who wanted to travel, who in turn became the first Black female filmmaker in American history. Because of the documentary work that she did, her field work is some of the first documentary work from a Black woman. And just feeling like parallel to her experience because she was also, you know, figuring out African traditional religions and just doing the work of loving Black people in the diaspora and what that meant. And I felt very much like that's what I thought I was doing, even if in that moment it really was just me begging for money every week and like, you know, sleeping on a beach or whatever. That was like,
the struggle was real.
That was also a turning point of just like, wow, like I really, you know, I went through that phase of really not knowing what was going on.
And that was the thing. It was good that we all had each other. We really were family. You know, we were always there for each other, helping each other. When I travel, I'd be like, can you watch my Frida, my little cat? You'd be there house sitting, watching my cat too. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's sometimes you don't realize you can have this, you can find your tribe and you can get this type of support when you're in your home, you can, but when you leave and you go to another country and you're lucky enough to meet other people and you're in that same place, this is just a beautiful experience to find your tribe and to support each other and grow together. Because, you know, I still haven't found that here in Rio. You know, there's tons of people here in Rio. I have not had that connection like I had, like what we had in Salvador. So there's so many times where I'm like, oh, it would be nice to just go back to that. Minus the struggling, like where we're at now, you know, making a little bit more money, you know, being able to do a little bit more. Like, but going back to that time when we had that our core group and we would just had fun, no matter how much we were struggling, no matter where, if we knew we were going to eat, we were having fun. We enjoyed ourselves. We laughed, you know.
And I think what Renee you're speaking to is, you know, a powerful community that's built and chosen family that we made. And I wanted to check in with you, Nia, about, you know, since you left Brazil and you know, you've been to Ecuador, you mentioned, you came back to Baltimore. How did your experience in Salvador shift how you build community or change what that looks like for you? Or what does that look like now in Baltimore during COVID time? Just basically, is there lessons around building community where it's difficult that you learned in Salvador that you've kind of carried with you to this day, and how you build community given these different circumstances? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think for one, it was a different world. Like, you know, we were all different ages. I'm not that same person, and I never will be again. And it took me a while to understand and accept that. There was a lot of grieving immediately after, like, that, especially that first year, because I went back. The second time I went back to Salvador, it was not the same. You know, everyone was not there. Relationships were not existing. We were right on the cusp of Trump. I literally came home into his first presidency. Well, I went to Colombia, Ecuador into his first presidency. So, like, just very different. And that really made me understand how so much of community is about just being present. Relationship building is just about being present and not really worrying about what the future is going to hold with these people, because we just don't know. I think obviously now in this COVID world, we really understand it. Like, you know, if you love someone, you got to let them know now.
Right.
You want to let them know is the risk you want to take. But like, I feel very grateful to have had such a raw and like healing experience with all of you for that first year that I was in Salvador, because I think for a while I thought it was Salvador, and then I went back and I was like, it's not actually Salvador as much as it was the people. You know, it was the people and the time and the places that we were in our lives that made it what it was. And I've been lucky enough that in general, I always find my folks, but I'm always very aware of, like, you know, who people are and their places in my life. So I'm not necessarily going into anything with the highest expectations, you know, like I can't really pine for the same type of connection that we had when I'm in a place that's not what it was, you know, like it just,
True.
you know, it's like, it's not going to be the same because it's not the same. But that doesn't mean it can't be what I need it to be right now. Like a lot of the connections that I have right now are very different. Like who I am. Ooh, like it's just, it's amazing really to think that you can be so many different people in a lifetime.
Yes.
But I think having Salvador specifically, like the first chapter of Salvador for me is something that I hold like really dear and precious in my memory, because like it's allowed me to get to this place where I can like be this person who, you know, does not have a social life anymore because I'm working all the time. You know, like just night and day. Like I can remember when I was in Salvador, there were opportunities that I still kind of kick myself about not pursuing because I was too busy like being laid up on a beach, you know? But we're here now. So I can understand that, oh, that's why I'm not having as much fun in this way, because I have to focus on like what I'm doing right now and like, present in this moment. So yeah.
You are so evolved.
I know. But that's a very important, you know, what you said, just kind of being in there and going through that experience is what shaped you to be where you are now. It shaped all of us to be where we are now. You know? So I like what you said, because sometimes I pine to go back to that. But yeah, it's like,
It's a great memory to hold on to before you go to bed, you know, just like,
yeah, it is.
because, you know, I don't know what this one about to hold. So I'm just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to travel and do all of these things, and, you know, this was going to be the year, the X, Y, and Z, because blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, got to go back into like my Salvador survival kit to one, entertain myself, and then to also kind of keep perspective as to, you know, things are just not, I can't control these things. It's very much a ayahuasca moment. Like I need to kind of pull back on those lessons that I pulled when I was, you know, in that circle. So
That's one of the things that Salvador does do. You know, I always say, if you can make it in Salvador, you can make it anywhere. And that's more so than New York, right?
Yeah.
It's like you learn so many different things. You learn how to survive. You learn how to find your voice. You really do. Because it's you can't not have your voice, finding your voice, whether it's through art, through speaking, communicating, finding something along that healing path that we went through that becomes you, or that is you, and you're allowing it to come out, you know, or you're connecting.
I feel like I really learned my power and my privilege. Like I think the biggest thing for me about international travel as a Black person is you never understand what American privilege is until you leave the States. And as much as there was struggle in Salvador,
unless you're white,
right? Of course, I'm talking from a non-white perspective,
right? I know.
As much as there was struggle and uncertainty in Salvador, $1 was always higher than a real. You know, that me speaking English was going to grant me access faster than had I not. So I was very, and even now that I'm back home, when it got tough for me here, I was like, wait a minute, I graduated college. I don't want to do this job, but I can actually apply and do this job. I kind of have to get over myself in this moment, suck it up, and like use this power that I have to continue to like exist and survive. And that's something that, you know, Salvador really taught me, like that sense of hustle. And it wasn't, I think if I had lived elsewhere, I would not have been able to access it as fast. And it also wasn't that glamorous in a way that I think, because for a long time I thought I was going to like do the New York thing, but then I ended up spending a lot of time in New York, and my dad's from New York, and it just kind of got to be something that I was disinterested in. I like things to be very foreign because I'm very curious. And once I feel like I know something, I'm like over it. The thing about like Salvador was like that language thing for me is what kept me like waking up every day. The fact that I could go to Bompresso and it would be an adventure because I don't know if I'm going to understand everything everyone said was like enough to like push me throughout the day and not get too caught up in like depression and state of the world and what am I doing here? Like it really grounded me when I had to just, and I don't know if this makes sense or what it says about me, but I just remember like sometimes I feel sad here because I do understand what people say. Sometimes I'm just like, like I wish I didn't. I remember coming back home and everything was so loud, you know, like I miss,
oh my God, yes.
I miss just certain things about living abroad and specifically in Salvador that you just don't get in the States. So.
And Nia, I think sort of thinking too about, so you're a writer, you're a filmmaker, you're a multi-artist doing other mediums. I always like to ask and think about how like the aesthetics of art and culture and the way that people make art and culture in Salvador, like how did that compare to what you knew at the time? And how does that compare to what you do now? If you, like, how does it influence you? What are some kind of the comparisons? And I ask this because I feel like, you know, I've been there 8 years and I have had a hard time now trying to figure out like what is it that I want to say now that I'm back in the States, and how do I want to say it? Because I've been doing it in this other different way.
Yeah.
So speak to that.
That's a bit of a big question, but
I know.
I think like primarily for me, Salvador was affirming. I'm from Baltimore. So coming from like an all Black city, it wasn't a culture shock in a way that when I went to Eastern Europe was a culture shock. Salvador was very much like a homecoming. And I'm always, I like to travel and I like to be in places where I don't understand stuff and I want curiosity, but I also need Black people, like, because that's always going to ground me. And, you know, Salvador is just Black as hell. And I love that. And it was also very African in the way that we in the Americas envision Africa. Someone who actually went to college with a lot of Africans, when you finally, you're like, oh, this is not, okay, cool.
Right.
But coming from, you know, Baltimore with this Pan-African aesthetic, like head wraps and just all of these different things weren't that foreign to me, but it was nice to get deeper. Like it was nice to be able to go to a Tehadl and see, you know, what the white was about and just see it being like cool. Like a lot of the things that we are celebrating post 2015 was not necessarily the norm. So like I had locks in middle school. You know, I got called a Jafaican. Like I had to kind of like, it was a lot for me to be as Black and proud as I am growing up. So once I got to Salvador, it was kind of like that. Like here's a place where like you can be young and wear your hair wrap and have this ATR and do all of these things and not be like snickered at or not be thought of as being better than other people. Like it was just space for that. Like it was a very normal thing, and that made me like be able to relax in certain parts of who I am or who I was. So that's like one thing. And then I think coming back from that, it really just made me feel like I knew it. Like before going to Brazil, I had an idea that like Blackness as I know it coming from Baltimore is not a single thing. Like as much as Black people aren't a monolith, we are very similar across the diaspora. And I think it's something that is like fun to talk about for me. Like I genuinely enjoy, you know, the diaspora wars and the discourse around who does what and blah, 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 blah. But I also think, I just think it's beautiful at the end of the day, like all of it. So it really just, it was affirming. It was like, you know, a pat on the back, like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is what I like. And I know I like it because I didn't experience it in like 3 or 4 different countries now. And it's, you know, it, so. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Or wrong answer. Yeah, no, it was great. It's great what you said. And so you came back and you were like, I need to create a platform for filmmakers, femme filmmakers of the diaspora now, because then white
her feelings got hurt. She was like, no, I want to do this.
Yeah. And I would take charge. That's amazing, because I'm the one who, if someone rejects me, I like go in and I'm like, why? I'm so terrible. And you flipped it. You were like, I'm gonna make my own amazing, beautiful film festival. Yeah. So tell us about this year's festival. Tell us what it's gonna look like, who's gonna be showcasing some of the filmmakers.
It's virtual, 100% virtual. Which, you know, I'm very sad about. I'm not gonna lie. I had some moments earlier this week where kind of the reality hit me, because so much of film festivals are about community and being in person and seeing those people that you only see once a year because y'all live in different parts of the world. It's about being in a theater and experiencing your film on a big screen, because quiet as kept, a lot of films that get shown at festivals don't necessarily get distribution. Like, you know, Netflix is new. So we live in a different world as filmmakers where the odds of you actually getting picked up are much higher, but that's still not a guarantee that you'll ever see your film in a theater. So what I really loved about my festival was the idea that we could give that to people. And the best part about the way we were able to give it to people is because after Maryland Film Festival didn't hire me and I started my own thing, and I had it at the gallery. And it was literally like in an upstairs bedroom because the gallery was a converted house. And I put the sheet on the wall, and somebody, Shay gave me her projector, and somebody let me hold that speaker. And we had 20 chairs in there. It was very, you know, DIY, which is the Baltimore way. And it was great. And I was like, well, this is over. And I just, you know, I want to think about it again. And my programmer was like, so what are we going to do next year? And we had decided to do a taste test event as a way to tour and help people understand that this festival was for them. And we did it at the Creative Alliance because a good friend, Samantha Mitchell, worked at the Creative Alliance. We met there, but she was a film person there. She was like, I'd love to have this there. And Creative Alliance is like, they show films, like they're a multi-purpose theater. So I was like, okay, this is cool. We have our event January of that following year. And in the year that's passed, a lot has changed for the Maryland Film Festival. And they end up with Sandra Gibson, who's a Black woman. She's the new ED. So I go to an event at the Parkway. They're screening some Black film, which is different for them. So I'm like, oh, let me go see. And I met Sandra, and she was just like, oh my God, I love your work. Let's have the festival here. And I'm just like, huh. So, you know, I went from not being a volunteer coordinator, which would not have worked out anyway, to bringing my own festival into that same space.
Wow. Within 2 years or a year?
Yeah, like literally, I guess it was like within 2 years, because the first one was spring 2018 and the next one was fall 2019.
Oh, a year.
Yeah,
Wow.
basically. And, you know, the thing about the Parkway Theater is it is on a prominent, predominantly Black street in a Black city. It was never something that people who are Black thought they could even go into. So we got to be the first for a lot of folks. And last year's theme was access. This year's theme is legacy, because I know I saw a woman on a bus with these really like beautiful blue cornrows. And I was thinking about the Sankofa bird, and my graphic designer, who's also my best friend. We like work on a lot of projects together. We like developed our things together. And like she came up with this like Sankofa bird. And I'm like, the Sankofa bird is always about going forward and returning to your past and like the cyclical nature of stuff. And I remember I had a hard time thinking about the word, because I knew what I wanted to say. We had the logo, but I was like, what is the word? And I was like, oh, it's legacy. Like the word is legacy. We're thinking about our legacy, because technically we were in the future in 2019. Our festival being about access, we wanted it to be virtual. We just didn't have the capacity. We were just ahead of our time with access, which is great. But we wanted legacy to be something that, as we approach 2020, we wanted folks to begin to kind of look to the past to figure out what, you know, this next century and decade and time period going forward should be about. So I think it's really interesting that we're all, as in folks who are living on Earth in the middle of a pandemic, are forced to kind of sit down and go through those history books right now and think about legacy and think about like life and death and just all of the things. So every year the festival is something different, and it's always what it needs to be. But yeah, we got a lot of great films. We have Peer Kids by Elegance Bratton, which is a documentary that was about 8 years in the making about the life of queer youth of color and how they're kind of relegated to the pier on Christopher Street, I believe, in NYC, and just like what the reality of growing up outside looks like. We have Say My Name, which is also another trans and queer story about two Brazilian women who want to be called by their proper names and what they have to go through to change those documents. And then our final closer is Anatomy of Wings, which, without giving too much away, is also a queer story, which I just love. Like, I didn't even know it was going to be that, but it is. And that is also a documentary, and it's a 10-year documentary, I believe. I don't want to get the number wrong.
Wow.
But it's a group of Black girls in Baltimore who have been documenting their lives via an after-school program. You kind of just get to see like their legacy and what has changed for them. So those are the three features that we're bringing. And then we have our shorts program, which my favorite part of this festival is curating a shorts block, because I'm a fan of short film. It's the most accessible. And they're just so cool. So we have Defining Femme and Defining Black, which are kind of like our, it's something we do every year, Defining Black, because we kind of always have to redefine what those things mean. As a festival that is about femininity and Blackness, regardless of like gender or nationality, really. So that's going to be really interesting to see kind of how people receive what we are saying femme and Blackness is this year. There are a few blocks that kind of grapple with the legacy of certain things. So we have Legacy of Craft, which is about women and their craft and, you know, the highs and lows of trying to be a practicing whatever and also being a woman. There's Legacy of Righteous Anger, which is pretty self-explanatory. Legacy of WAP, Wet Ass Pussy. Black women in lust and sex.
Nice.
Legacy of Black Girl Magic, because we had quite a few entries that dealt with the supernatural, which is really cool. Legacy of Beauty, because Black Femmes, we always got to talk about our relationship to beauty. I may be forgetting some, but that's what's on the top of my head. Everything is up on our website right now, bfsfilmfest.com. And our social media, you can go and click through, and our tickets are live. So we hope to see you next weekend. We're going to have live Q&As after every screening. So we're trying to, it's not quite what being in person is, but we hope that folks who at least weren't able to get to Baltimore are now able to experience a little bit of it for themselves.
I think that's the blessing in disguise, right?
Yeah.
You get to access more people who can't come physically, to Baltimore. So that's really good. Yeah. So people can get tickets and find more information at www.bfsfilmfest.com.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And the dates for the festival, Nia, can you share? The program, is it all day showings?
So the way that Seed and Sparks works is Seed and Sparks. I'm always adding an S on something. It's Seed and Sparks. And they it's kind of like Friday. I think Friday around 6, everything opens. So technically you can buy a festival pass and have access to everything, or you can buy individual tickets. But you can watch whatever you want at any time between Friday and Monday. We just suggest that you watch it with us because we're going to be tweeting about it and having conversations about it. So we don't want, we don't want you to spoil it for folks who haven't seen things yet.
Great. Okay.
Right. So that's September 4th to the 7th. So the Black Femme Supremacy Festival from September 4th to the 7th. You can get more information at tickets www.bfsfilmfest.com.
Yeah.
Awesome. What do you think? Should we show the little clip again, or
let's show the clip? Do you know if we can turn on the
Let me check.
Captions available. I mean, if not, it can definitely be in Portuguese because hopefully some of our Brazilian friends are watching.
Or we'll watch,
check right now. But if
so, guys, as we're doing this, as Nefertiti is putting on the film, if anyone has any questions, any comments, feel free to leave your comments or questions. And also, if you haven't subscribe to YouTube and hit the like. If you're enjoying this, make sure you hit the like button.
Yeah, guys, I'm not seeing how to be able to put on the subtitles, unfortunately.
Okay.
Is it on YouTube?
It should be on YouTube. You might be able to find a
yeah, I could look for it because I'm playing it from the drive, from my Google Drive, because it's the link that you sent me, Nia. So let me try and look for it on YouTube really quick. And while I'm looking for it, if you want to just sort of share a little bit about what the film is about, and then to intro it, and then I'll hopefully be able to play it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so yes, Say My Name is a film by Julia Chagas about 2 Black Brazilian trans women who are taking the necessary steps to get their, I believe, birth certificate and IDs updated with their chosen names as women. And it's a very straightforward documentary that shows you the legal process of getting your name changed as a trans woman in Brazil.
Yeah, I can't find it on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and play just what you sent me. Hold on one second, folks. Go share that screen. I'm going to share that audio. And we're going to watch a wonderful trailer that will be screening at
screen.
Como me trouxe na rodoviária lá de Maceió, você vai pro Rio e trabalha. Quando meu pai voltou para fora de casa, aí ele falou assim, então eu tenho um filho e uma filha? Eu falei, é. Agora, eu sou sério.
Eu diria que eu nunca me entendi como homem no mundo, sabe? A minha luta, desde o momento em que eu me entendi como pessoa transexual, foi para não ir pelo caminho da prostituição. Eu queria ser diferente e poder mostrar um dia para outras pessoas trans como eu que essa linha que nos impuseram não é absoluta.
Porque nossa, está proibida, tá? De usar o banheiro feminino. Você tem que usar o banheiro masculino. Porque na época que eu fiz a mudança do nome, eu entendia assim que se eu pudesse trocar o gênero, se fosse operada. Uma pessoa só conseguiu tacar fogo em tudo. Pra mim não valia mais nada. Por isso que eu resolvi encarar essa missão de fazer o filme e passar para as pessoas. Olha, minha vida é assim, simplesmente assim. Eu quero viver.
Nossa.
Viva a vida. Eu te mostrei ainda minha certidão de nascimento nova.
Não, ainda não chama.
Essa é a nova. Agora sim, essa que eu me reconheço. Essa.
Yay.
Yay.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
So exciting. Thank you, Nia, for doing this festival at this time. I think it's so important to just hear more Black voices, Black femme voices, telling their stories. And yes, it is a blessing in disguise that it's virtual, because now I can be there and participate.
Yes,
so we can show up for you even though we're far away. And just really be celebrating this work that you're doing and this legacy that you're creating. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Work. So proud of our baby Nia.
Yes, so proud of you. Yes, congratulations. And I know it's a lot of work. I know it's challenging. It's not easy work at all, putting this all together. But it's worth it. It's been a great job. I'm sorry?
I said in the middle of a pandemic too, because
right. But
so
it's
much
great.
all the time.
So before we close out, there's two things. Nefertiti wants to share something. I do as well. Let me share real quick, and then Nefertiti, you can close out with what's happening at 7 p.m. Okay. But I do want to let, speaking of, as I am doing tomorrow night from 5 to 10 p.m., there's the Black Love Experience. I will be teaching a tantric work, for love, building intimacy and connection between yourself, within yourself, or with a partner. The great thing is there's going to be a lot of different events, a lot of different expos, DJ sets with music, arts and craft, teaching you how to make arts from your home, working different workshops on how to have better connections, on how to communicate, acupressure. There's going to be a qigong class there. So there's a lot of different things. But one of the great things is that this event, a portion of the proceeds are donated to organizations and schools in Southeast Washington, D.C. Now, Southeast Washington, D.C., for people who may not be familiar, probably similar to Baltimore, where Nia is from. But usually it's one of the communities that's predominantly Black, and they don't have as much, in terms of many different options, in terms of income, the school system. It's just more difficult. So we're really going to be providing a portion of the proceeds to the school district so they can have more. They can buy things for the school to have, just give the kids better opportunities to be able to study. There's going to be different organizations that's given to as well, such as homeless organizations, to really kind of just offer support to those who need it. So check that out, and that information is on www.blackloveexperience.com, and I'll put that here in the notes as well.
Great. Yay, Renee. I'm actually typing it. Oh, you beat me to it.
I'm fast.
You are fast.
I've been told that I'm fast. And I'm okay with that.
Well, there you go. I take my time. So, folks, I take my time. And yes, there's a lot of things going on to transform society in small and giant ways. And at 7 p.m., so in 4 minutes, there will be the Black National Convention. I'm going to share my screen here with folks to see what that will be. So it starts at 7, and it's basically where a Black political agenda will be ratified. It is sponsored by the Movement for Black Lives and Electoral Justice Project. There is a full program ahead. There's the actual convention from 7 to 10. An after party, there will be ambassadors and hosts, Kayla Reed, Angelica Ross, Philip Agnew. It's all free streaming. Just go to Movement for Black Lives on Instagram to check that out. So yes, time to be.
So as they say here in Brazil, que chique. I should have did that. should I share my screen right now and share the Black Love experience? You know, so I never do it because I always feel like I have a difficult time sharing the screen. Let me see if I actually can get that done right now. Let's see. This is going to be a test for me. Wait, so did I share it?
Oh, there you go.
It's on there, but how do I see it? Oh, there we go. Now I can see it. But then I can't move up. Okay, guys, I'm testing while we're on here, but this is the Black Love experience. Now, is it moving up?
Yeah, it's moving.
Oh, yay, I'm doing it. Okay. So this is the Black Love experience. And vote Black. So from 5 to 10 p.m. Mm-hmm.
I have a question about this. Is this going to live on YouTube after we're done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Forever.
Forever and ever.
Cool. I'll let folks know.
Great. And then I'm going to share, since we're having fun sharing screen, I'm going to share the BFS Film Fest page. Yeah. Nia's wonderful website.
Oh, look at that.
Look how beautiful this is.
If you go to festival at the top
mm-hmm.
and go to 2020, you can see more about this
entire program. Yay. Yeah. Look at that. So folks, go ahead and check. Ooh, look at all the films. I'm so excited. I love shorts as well. And I feel like they're undervalued and we need to change that.
So,
yay. And I do want to say, while we're talking about the BFS Film Fest, that another one of our good friends is a part of it as well, Hannah Moore. So
she's going to be leading the Q&A, moderating the Q&A for Legacy of Righteous Anger. So wait for that. That'll be Saturday, I believe. The website has
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So shout out to Hannah.
Shout out to Hannah. We're so excited. I'm going to be there. Yeah. If it can be live and you see my face, I'll wear my lipstick.
Well, we just red lipstick what you said? Oh yeah, no. I was actually gonna say you and Renee, since this is press, you all get press passes. So I'll send you.
Yay. And actually, if both of you want to come to my event, the Black Love, I could get you in for free too with press passes. Yeah, so tomorrow. Let's share the wealth.
Do it. It's possible.
Let's do it. Awesome. Yeah, so definitely you could share the YouTube link and people can watch it, and we'll be sure to download it. There is a link that I can send to you that you can download it so you can put it on Instagram as well if you like.
Oh, cool. Okay.
This video. Okay.
For folks watching, yes, thank you so much, Nia, for being here, for doing your work.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Yes, thank you.
And we will be back next Friday. And for folks who want to continue to support this platform we've created for femmes of color in the world to talk about their experiences in any part of the world, go ahead and check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/redlipsticktalk. Think about supporting our work. The voices of women of color are drastically underrepresented in other spaces. You can start at $3 a month, $5 a month, or $10, and you get some backstage access. You also get information. You also get to see us. And every Saturday, we also host a free meditation for folks of color at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It is a wonderful space every morning. If you want to center and ground, go ahead and access that as well. I think that's it.
Yes.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. So thank you again, Nia. This was awesome. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye.